This is the Always Direct podcast, and we talk with movers and shakers of this world to learn about the ups and downs they went through to get where they are now. Let's get started with the show.
Beautiful. All right. Hello, and thank you for watching the Always Direct podcast. My name is John Rayan, and I'll be your host. Today, our guest is Sabatino Covollo. He's an entrepreneur, a pizzeria owner, and a pizzeria consultant based out of Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm excited to pick his brain and hear his story. How are you today?
Doing good. Got loaded up on coffee, so I'm ready to go.
All right, cool. So, South Carolina, huh? How is it out there? How's the weather right now?
It's been a little rainy lately, but South Carolina is usually beautiful pretty much year round. Couple of days of cold here and there, but most of the time it's gorgeous here.
So your business, I was on your as I was looking at your restaurant, you seem like you have a really busy like urban pizzeria based off the Bronx, New York style pizza. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, you're famous in that area, I'm assuming.
Yeah, sort of. I really can't go anywhere without somebody recognizing me and yelling out my name. But Charleston's really it's a city, but it's a close-knit community, and people are very just neighborly, and nice. And it's more of a big town than a city, really, I would say. I mean, I'm from New York, so I don't know if Charleston's really a city. So, it's a homely feeling place. So I really can't go anywhere. But I've been on TV a bunch of times and all kinds of stuff. So people will just recognize me anywhere I go. So I wear a lot of, hats and kind of.
Sure.
I don't need the exposure, but it's fun.
So how'd you get so? Why did you end up moving to South Carolina? I mean, New York is the heart of the country. What made you get up and move?
To be honest, I left New York City 2 weeks after 9/11. I packed my Ford Escort and with all my belongings, and I just drove to Charleston because my mother had moved here prior and she'd been trying to recruit me. And I said, I'm never going to live in the South. It's too much. But she was here. And when after 9/11 happened, I said, that's it. New York is just, it's too much. I worked in the World Trade Center for 5 months. I got transferred August 16th. So,
Wait a minute, August 16th, 2000, that year?
Yeah, 3 weeks before they went down. I was an apprentice in the electrical union, and we were changing out all the wiring in Building 5, which is one of the smaller ones that sits at the foot of the towers. Tower 1 is Building 1, Tower 2 is Building 2. So we were in 5 changing out the wiring, but we met every morning in 2, the basement of 2, which was the first, I believe it was the first one hit. But so I hate to put a morbid spin on the morning, but yeah,
it's part of the story.
Yeah, 2 weeks after that, I said, that's it. I had enough. A lot of the guys that I work with there were killed. So I just said, what, let me just give it a shot. I tried, I lived in Seattle also. So I've been different places, lived different places. So let me give Charleston a shot. So I came down here. My mom was here. Like I said, I got a job right away working where she worked. And then I worked my way through college. I was actually a teacher for 3 years, special ed teacher. And then I got burned out in my 3rd year. And I just said, what, let me look at businesses in the area for sale. And there was a pizza place for sale. And, I had worked in New York for all those years in the pizza places. So I said, that's what I know how to do. And I bought a place that was for sale, and the rest is history. That was 11 years ago.
Wow. So I see, I've been really doing a little diving in because I'm in the pizza business. I don't know if you know this, but I'm in the pizza business as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we have some Papa Ray's pizzas around here. And I'm a pizza fanatic, I love this stuff. And I love, I'm almost ashamed to say it. I think I like New York pizza better than Chicago pizza, but You know, it's just,
Careful,
I
careful.
like the thinner. I like the folding. I like everything about it. Not too many ingredients. I'm not a big fan of deep dish at all. Um, but it's the thing we have here. But there's a lot of good pizza here. A lot of good New York style pizza. I'm from Chicago, so Chicago is, it's got everything. You know, it's got all the good stuff. All the good chefs are here. But I'm looking at some of your pictures here, and I mean, you have a very. It looks like it's a basic menu, but then when you look a little bit into it, you have more creative stuff on here. And plus, when you look on your consulting page, when you look at the recipe section, some stuff it sounds bonkers almost. Like, wow, that sounds, I've never even heard of that. So tell me a little bit more
Yeah.
about how you came up with your recipes, and you know, are you very experimental, or how does that come about?
Oh, it's always experimentation for me. I'm just doing, I'm in the laboratory all the time, just creating different things. I'll see something, online, or I'll talk to some different people, and I'll just get an idea and just kind of run with it. Um, yeah, I try to design a menu that was specific for bars. That bars would have something salty and spicy, that encourages people to have more to drink. So I came up with a bunch of different recipes, a lot of stuff on the fried side.
Now, why is that? Is that because you're right next to a bunch of bars, I'm assuming?
Well, yeah, King Street in Charleston has maybe 100 bars on it, but it was more because of the recent laws. A lot of the recent laws were passed where the bars have to be able, if you if you walk in with a crowd of 40 people, a bar has to be able to serve them food. So it's no more bars just having booze. Now
Right.
you got to have food also. So a lot of these places were kind of reaching out and saying, what can we do with food? So there was a local bar called Burns Alley that reached out, and I know the owner, and he basically, said, "Look, can you help me get us some food in here?" So we did patties from scratch. We did personal pizzas and some pizza with some fried dough. We did cheese sticks and pepperoni rolls and stuff like that to get him going on the food side. So um, and I've been kind of all over. I've GM'd for Papa John's. I've GM'd for Godfather's. So I worked in different pizza places in Seattle, in New York, here. So before I owned my own spot. So I just acquired a lot of different recipes, a lot of different knowledge. Um, some of the stuff we do sounds crazy, but when you could really apply anything to a pizza. So if a consulting client calls me and says, "Hey, one of the first things I want to know is where are you? What is a local delicacy? What could we take from that and apply it to a pizza, or an appetizer or something like that?" So it's always creative. We did a job in Long Island where there was three brothers that wanted to do a kosher menu. And so we basically did a bunch of, Hebrew delicacies like shakshuka and khachapuri, and we made those things into pizzas and appetizers. So there's so much you can do. As there's so much you can do with pizza. It's really endless where you can go with it. You can go anywhere. That's what I love about it.
Definitely. I mean, that's, eggs, from anything from breakfast to dinner to, sweets, everything goes with pizza. You're damn right about that. So let's jump in. So how did you, how old are you? 17,
41.
41, 17. So how did you decide to get into the consulting game? And how has it been going since you started doing that? So it's, by the way, it's thepizzaconsultants.com, which is a great name, by the way. I don't know how you got that.
Nice. I know the web guy said, "I can't believe this name is available." Right? But that's it was years back. I actually put a tab on the Sabatino's Pizza website,
I saw
just
that.
consulting, just to see what would happen. It wasn't sophisticated. It was just kind of thrown in. I wanted to see if anybody would be searching pizza consultants, and this was, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago at least. And I got a call from a guy in the Philippines, and he was starting up a food truck. and he wanted to know recipes and dough and all kinds of stuff. So we did a full menu build out for him, and gave him all the recipes. It's a challenge because it's another country, so we had to find different alternatives to some of the products we use. For instance, using wet yeast is preferable, but he couldn't find the wet yeast, so he had to go to bakeries and all kinds of places just to try to get his hands on it. But once he finally got the recipe down, everything kind of worked out for him. But that was where it started. And then I said, wow, maybe this is something that could actually work out. And then a local person approached me, at my pizza place and said, hey, I want to start a pizza place in the next town over. And, we went in together on it, and we built out a beautiful pizza place. It was called Prospero. But it was more of a fine dining with pizza, but they also serve slices, which is one of the models on the website. If you look at it, it's one of the ones that we did that was really beautiful place, and it really worked out. But I think COVID kind of killed it, and it's a lot of places have gotten just annihilated by COVID. But anyway, yeah, that's really how I got into it. And once I saw that he was, that this is actually could be a lucrative thing, then I went ahead and built out a website. And not me, I had somebody else do it. I don't know anything about that, but we got it all done, and so now people could go on there, and I still haven't, it still needs some improvement. We're working on it on the website, and so it's a constant thing we're trying to build.
Well, just like a pizzeria, it's like you're always dealing with the tweaking it for improvement and fixing and refining it. Yeah, so I'm looking at your slices over here. I love slice displays. The thing is, a lot of our locations that we work with over here with the Papa Ray's Pizza, they're not in urban areas. And so you really can't have too many selections because there's not enough volume of people walking through. But, in the city, having a glass display or whatever, and having, white pizza, sausage, strombolis, it's the best. I mean, you throw them in the oven for a few minutes and boom, and you're not cheap, honestly. Your prices are healthy. $6.99, I think, right?
Yeah.
Where it's which is good, which is fantastic. If people pay it, I mean, and the food is excellent, which I know it is, why not? So would you recommend anybody opening up slices, having slices on their menu if they're not in a very dense population?
No, really, you need the foot traffic. My spot, I got very fortunate with my spot. I'm on a college campus, and 50 feet away is the most busiest street in Charleston with shopping and tourism. So I got really fortunate with the spot. Thousands of people walk by a day, so I'm going to get a percentage of that walking in the store. So really, you need that unless you have a cult following that is like, there's so many people coming through your door every day that you can afford to have maybe one or two, maybe three options for slices available to them, because if you can incorporate slices into the menu, I would encourage anybody to do that because of the profitability in a slice as opposed to selling whole pies. If you're getting $18-20 for a whole pizza, if you chop it into 8 slices and charge $3.50, then you're talking about closer to $30 a pizza. So you're bringing that up by a third, your margin. So you're paying the same money to make the pizza, but you're able to make a bigger profit. So slices are definitely the way to go if you can do it. But like you said, you really have to have the foot traffic.
Two things. What size are your slices? What's the whole diameter of the pan, or not pan, whatever size you're making? 20-inch?
Yeah.
20 inch?
We're usually ours are usually about 24, 25-inch crust. And then, we're chopping it in 8. So the slices are big. They're going to be big, but we make them really thin. So we're not trying to feed people a lot of bread because that's too filling. Then they'll only buy one. And you don't want to make the slices too big, crazy big. They're there's another place in Charleston that's just opened up a couple of years ago. They're hanging in there somehow, but and they opened probably about 4 or 5 blocks away from me, and they have giant slices. I mean, they're enormous, and they're probably like 30% bigger than mine. And they're charging $5 a slice, and but it's just the flaw I see is that it's too big. So people are only going to buy one. You got to be crazy to buy two. You're never going to finish it, and you're paying $10 price point. So really, you want them to buy two. You want people to buy 2 slices, and so keeping it nice and thin is not enough food. One's not enough food, so you need 2 slices. So the whole makeup of your pizza when you stretch out, because my dough weights are probably going to be a lot less than that other place. My dough weights are light because we want to get it nice and thin. So that's really the trick.
And you're hand stretching everything, right? You're not.
No rollers allowed in my place.
Now, why do you? I'm just curious. Why do you feel that way? Do rollers ruin the dough in your opinion?
Yeah, the roller, you're not going to be able to get the most important thing of establishing of pressing out the pizza is establishing your crust. So you can't do that with a roller. You have to do that, or a machine. There are machines that do that too, but you'll sacrifice your crust. So what you want is you got to, your fingers around the edges just inside the dough line. And so you want to establish that crust. You just can't do that with a roller.
Gotcha. Yeah, in Chicago we have a tavern pizza, super thin, super crispy, run as thin as you can, cracker crust through the machine, sauce it, and then we use bulk sausage. I'm sure you've seen it before, where like you pinch the sausage out. We don't use yeah, it's like a raw bulk sausage.
Okay.
So we don't use the casings.
No.
Have you ever tried that before?
Yeah. The place I worked at in the Bronx, Louis and Ernie's, I worked there for one of the most famous places that's been there since the 50s. They use the raw sausage that, cook it in the oven, 7-8 minutes it's cooked. And we had people coming from different states to have that. And we did a fried calzone too. That was an amazing item, and people would come from all over to get that. So I've been doing the raw sausage the whole time we've been open.
Oh yeah. So tell me about the fried calzone. So, it's hard to cook on the inside,
Yeah, you got to know what you're doing. When I was a kid, I'm 14, 15 years old in the Bronx, and my backyard, I can see the pizzeria, Louis and Ernie's backyard from my backyard. And you could smell the fried calzones in the morning.
Yeah.
Because they would make them every morning, and they didn't have a fryer. They had a giant pot, and they just put them
in the oil and threw it in there.
Yeah, every morning, and they they make a batch, they set it out, and they make it with the prosciutto. One had the prosciutto, and then the other one was just cheese. So they had 2 options. And so I just kind of learned from them how to do the fried calzone. But if you take your time with it, and you don't you don't want the oil too hot, you can really get the inside to cook perfectly. And then you're also going to cut it open, heat it in the oven before you serve it. So the inside will get a little bit of the heat from the oven as well. So there's different ways to get around that.
Yeah. So are you getting a consistent stream of customers for the consulting, or what's your main business? Is your consulting the main business, or is the pizzeria the main business, or is it a mixture of both?
Yeah, it's a mixture right now. I would love the consulting to be, what I do in the future. The pizzeria, I love it. It's my baby, but one day I'll want to get away from being on my feet so much and doing so much work, because I'm still in there almost every day. I've had some leg issues recently, so I one of these days I'll look to completely just switch over to consulting and do that full time. But yeah, it's a mix of both right now. We just had we're helping a guy in Jersey get going. Gave him some recipes, and we're probably going to help him with some others on the menu. He wants to do Sicilian and like a focaccia crust pizza. So we could do all kinds of different crusts. What you were saying before, when you put your, you do your dough, you stretch it in a machine, and then you put it in a pan, right?
Well, we have two kinds. So I've had a couple of different types of concepts, but the one we're doing right now, yeah, we put it in a pan, we hand press it out with it's a little oil based. But we're the previous restaurant used to be called Pinocchio's Pizza in Glenview. You take the dough with flour based and you run it through the machine two times to get it super thin. Then you put a cover, you slice it, make it around 18-inch, 16-inch, 14-inch, and then you sauce it, and then you just in the pizza pedal right into the oven. That one, that's pretty much, that's called a tavern Chicago style pizza. And then the deep dish, of course. But yeah, we never had a crust on it like you guys do. And you guys do hang it on the edge of the table so that the gravity kind of takes it, right?
Yeah, that's a way to do it. Yeah, that's how they did it in New York. And that's and I, when I built my place out, I should have done what they did in the Bronx and used limestone as the counter.
Yeah.
The limestone doesn't conduct heat, and it's just smoother. I used
Stainless steel?
oh my goodness, I used marble, like
Granite?
Granite, exactly. So I used granite. That was a mistake. So the pizzas don't slide as well on that, and I couldn't believe it, but there's so many different ways to stretch out a pie. They used to do that in the Bronx, where they do this on the counter and it falls off, like you were saying, flour gets all over the floor. Or you can pick it up, smack it, slap it around. And I found that people that are walking by and people that are in the place, they like seeing that stuff. They like seeing the theatrics.
Action. It's a theater, yeah.
Yeah, we'll slap it. I'll throw it, a bunch of times, and everybody gets a kick out of it. And so it's I think it's better for business to do it that way. So that's how I teach people now how to make pizzas.
So do you slap it, you throw it in the air and every pizza?
No. No, I won't do it for every pizza, because you run the risk of putting a hole in it or stretching it out too much. So you kind of pick and choose which doughs feel better in your hand, but it's more of an expertise, because you might be able to get somebody in there, you flatten it out, you put it in a pan. Probably doesn't take too long to train. For me to get a guy to learn how to make a pizza and stretch it out, it's going to take months, of practice for them to learn, on a consistent basis. With there's all foreign movements. You're not naturally doing that in any event. So, unless they have prior experience, it's going to take a while to train somebody how to do it that way. That's why in New York, it's an acquired skill. When I first learned how to make pizzas in New York City, people were kind of seeing how I made them, and other places were trying to, headhunt me and get me to go and work for them, and so on and so forth. So when you learn that acquired skill, you could go anywhere and make a pizza like an expert. So it takes a while.
Sabatino, I got two questions for you with regards to your restaurants. Number one question is, how long do the slices last, and how do you keep them looking fresh? Number one. And then number two, do you encourage marketing, and if so, how? What's your favorite approach to marketing?
To your first question, slices will last a long time, because if you use a high quality cheese, and if you use a certain blend of cheese. So sometimes, like for instance, you couldn't put a margarita pizza, right?
Sure.
It has the buffalo mozz, right? The fresh mozzarella. So you can't leave that out sitting for too long, because the cheese will start to dry and crack. But there's certain cheeses you could use where that pizza will look good the whole day. You don't even have to worry about it. I don't really.
Grande? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, Grande would be the. I mean, that's the one everybody uses in New York. It's something about the mixture, the recipe of regular cheese to buffalo milk that they put into, because every place with mozzarella, they're going to put some buffalo milk, a little kiss of it. I think one cheese came out recently that US Foods was pushing, not US Foods, Roma. They were pushing some cheese where they were saying, oh, it's called Bellissimo or something like that. And they were putting a kiss. They called it a kiss of buffalo milk, but it had too much in it. So after a while, your pizzas are sitting out and they look like crap because the cheese starts to dry and crack. So if you use the right cheese and you just, have a little expertise, it'll look good for a while. Now, I wouldn't recommend just kind of leaving them out for more than 3 or 4 hours. A lot of places will replace them after a couple hours. And, obviously, DHEC is going to have their say in how long you can leave, slices out. So that all has to be taken into consideration, but they can last for a while.
Yeah. Well, we do a maximum of 3 to 4 hours based on how it looks, but and you're damn right about the cheese. There was a shortage recently, and we had to switch cheeses for a little bit for like a couple of weeks, and oh my god, I don't know what the hell was wrong with it, but it tasted good if you ate it right away, but if you let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes, it looked like a piece of plastic, and you couldn't heat it back up. It wasn't heating right.
Right. Yeah. See, that's the thing about grande. It will reheat back to the original form, and grande. And I don't know if you've experimented with it, but if you recook grande a couple of days later, it's almost better. Like for some, you put it in your freezer, you take it out, you let it thaw for 10, 15 minutes, you put it in a toaster oven. It's almost better. You just can't mess it up. So yeah, that's really.
Is that what you use at Sabatino's?
Yeah, if I couldn't have gotten grande here, I wouldn't have even opened. Like I use that exclusively. And when the pandemic hit, grande shot up to about $4 a pound.
I know.
Because of milk. The milk industry suffered a little bit, and the price of milk in a grocery store went up, so the price of cheese is going to go up. And I was used to paying $2.60, $2.70 a pound. All of a sudden, it shoots up to $4. But I never use different cheeses. I tried to do it. I tried to introduce, when the pandemic hit, a couple different pizzas that didn't use grande, like a taco pizza. Did a taco. We did like a BLT, bacon cheeseburger pizza. So those were using cheddars and cheddar mixes and not grande. So I tried to do that to offset the price a little bit, but even those cheese prices were up. So you really couldn't get away with it. But I never went away from grande. I know a lot of places that, because we used to have late nights that went all the way till 3 a.m. Before the pandemic, and a lot. There were other places, and they would start using different cheeses, because drunk people don't know the difference, right? But I didn't do that. I stayed with grande all night, never deviated, and didn't even mix it. So a lot of places will use grande, but then they'll get a cheap cheese and they'll mix it together. And they call it their signature blend, but that's cheating, and it's not really fair. So
you think you'd be able to tell the difference?
Immediately. If you had just by the way it looks, you don't even have to taste it when it comes to grande. You just know what you want to see is that golden color, that almost orangey color when it first comes out of the oven with grande. With just a plain cheese pizza, you won't. It just produces that rich oil, and the way you can tell is if you hold the pizza up and you let it drip, that grease comes off, right? You let it drip, and if it's golden colored and it drips right off, and it's this little pool and it's golden colored, that's high quality cheese. You can get a cheese in a fast food restaurant. It don't have grease on it, but you hold it up, it's not going to drip off, and it's going to be more yellowy. So that quality comes out, and people say, oh, it's greasy, but even organic cheese is going to have produced. If you heat cheese at a certain temperature, it's going to produce grease. That's just the way it is. The fats are going to come out. So it's really figuring out what's the high quality grease, the grease that's okay to eat, and the low quality grease.
Interesting. Yeah, we've considered the switch into grande a couple of times, but grande the price is just really expensive, and we've done taste tests And it's not that much different, but it maybe it just depends on the kind of palate. If your palate is refined, or if you wait a while and then reheat it, the reheating qualities. I don't think we did that. But yeah, interesting. What about marketing? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just one more point about the grande. The thing about grande too is you don't use as much on per pizza, so the price point's higher. But you'll actually, if you want to get into, because we used to weigh out all the ingredients at certain places I worked, and you put it in a little cup and then you put it on top of the pizza. So if you want to start weighing out, you'll use more cheese of an inferior brand. If you ever watched on videos, Domino's make a pizza, for instance, it's a lot. There's a ton of cheese on there. We'll put half that amount on a pizza because grande melts and spreads. Those pizzas, those cheeses, inferior cheeses just tend to glob and not really melt spread. So it does help with your cost a little bit. You don't quite use as much. But anyway, on the marketing side, so your question was, do I encourage people to?
Yeah. So when you have a client, or even for yourself, I mean, do you guys do any marketing, any direct mail, any Facebook stuff, any of that stuff?
I've tried just about everything. So at this point, I know kind of what works and what doesn't work. The online stuff is really where it's at right now. Anything social media, taking pictures, putting it on Instagram. I don't have a huge Instagram presence, or, I just, because I don't really need to, I guess. I'm one of those people that's kind of very nichey where, I've got all that exposure on the street, and that's what I pay for. My lease is expensive, so I pay for that front that I have right there on the street. All those people walking by and driving by, so I don't get into too much of that stuff. I'm not savvy with that really. What I would tell people to do is to hire somebody who is savvy at that. You can hire companies that will do all that for you, or you can do it yourself, right? But we have a whole strategy pre-open and then launch and then post-open strategies for marketing. So beforehand, you're going to be training people, you're going to be making a lot of pizzas, right? Why not go into the community, give those out, have somebody outside sampling, giving out samples, go to places and just give them the pizzas that you make, because what are you going to do with it otherwise? And there's just all kinds of ways that you can kind of ramp up the excitement in the community that, okay, we're going to open at this time, get excited. We can usually get with the food critics and bloggers and people like that, and have them help us get the word out, let them come in and try the food that we're putting out. And just to raise, awareness that we're, okay, we're opening.
Yeah, definitely. And do you guys deliver?
Yeah, we deliver through like Uber Eats and DoorDash and places like that. There's literally no parking where we are. There's hardly any parking, right? It's almost like a Manhattan street where you just can't park for too long. So, people can pick up and stuff, but having delivery drivers with their cars, it's almost impossible. Plus, it's a hassle. Yeah, using Uber Eats and DoorDash, it's a lot of people look at the price that they're charging you to do that. The percentage they take is high, but there's a way of offsetting that percentage so that you're really only paying 10, 15% to them instead of 30 to 40%. So
why? How raising your prices?
Yeah, and that's really what it is on their menu. So if you look at our menu, it's going to be less than what it is on Uber, because you have to raise your prices with them so they're not gouging. But Uber Eats is a premium service. People are going to understand that, and people who use that understand, okay, they're going to pay more money to have this food delivered to them. So they're usually willing to go there with the pricing. We get, since the pandemic, my delivery sales have gone up by, I don't even know, 10 times at least what they used to be.
Yeah.
Of course, the in-house stuff is not there right now. Took about a 30% hit on people coming in. We actually shut the inside down, and we're just selling through the window. So right now at Sabatino's, yeah.
Really? You guys are not at 25% or 50% yet, or you just chose not to?
Have inside dining. So I've got two different things going on. One, people are actually enjoying. I think they like not having to go into a place. They just come up to the window, have service right there at the window. We have an awning and everything. So if it's raining, they're under the awning, and it kind of works out nicely. But we're also doing a renovation inside to add a cafe. So it's a small space, and we're going to sacrifice probably 6 or 7 seats, but we're going to put in a full breakfast menu, some pizza related, some not, and we're going to have coffee, have a nice espresso machine and coffee, and we're going to try that. Then probably lunch, we'll keep that. We might have some maybe panini sandwiches and some unique lunch items that you can't really find around here. So we're under a renovation too, so we kind of got a 2-pronged thing going on right now on the inside.
Yeah, good luck with that. I hope it's successful. Pizza for breakfast. I see some of the pictures on your. I'm not sure where I saw it, but I saw it related to you. Ham and eggs and bacon. And cheese. They go so well. I love. Not a lot of people sell it. Nobody sells it actually. I don't know anybody that has a pizza for breakfast, like a pizza and eggs. Nowhere. You can't find it.
Right. You see it on some menus here and there, but it's very, very sparse. You're not. It's really going to be, getting people to. I've tried to pilot it at different times at Sabatino's. I've tried to open an hour earlier, and just have a breakfast pizza and see what happens. And it kind of worked out, but it wasn't enough for me to just kind of say, okay, well, let's open at 9 instead of 11, and they'll do breakfast pizzas from 9 to 11. Just kind of wasn't enough for me to get just too excited about it. But the changing of the business, having to adapt due to the pandemic, we lost the late night business. So we don't have those late night hours anymore. Now we're closed at 11. So we lost that revenue, and we would just make a killing. There'd be a line wrapped around the building. People waiting an hour to get to get food during that time, but from 11 to 3 in the morning. But now, so we're switching to let's try to make some money in the morning instead of those late night hours through setting up a cafe. So I think once they could get coffee also, right, and have dessert, some maybe desserty things too, like maybe get a cannoli or something like that with your coffee. But I think once we have that established, I believe that the breakfast pizzas will work. And we're going to do unique ones. We'll do a green eggs and ham, where we'll do some pesto, eggs, ham, and pizza. A lot of people may not know that a raw egg will cook. 500 to 550 degrees in the oven, a raw egg will cook in 6 minutes fully. It'll be beautifully cooked. When I was experimenting with eggs, I said, that's really amazing. You crack an egg right, you put your cheese, you got your dough, you put your cheese, you put your sauce, crack an egg, put it in the oven. It's beautiful after 6 minutes. So it's really an amazing thing when you think about the extent of what you can do on a pizza. You can basically do anything. We just did a steak and egg. See if I get the picture. See if you can see the picture.
While you're looking that up, I love getting good ribeye, and cutting it super thin. Put a little garlic oil base, some thyme, some even a little bit of Asiago as a cheese instead of the mozzarella. I throw this thinly sliced ribeye right on top, and then I actually like to put cilantro as a garnish afterwards. Man, it's yummy. I'm getting hungry. I'm looking at your pizzas over here. I'm getting hungry. I might fly out and get some pizza.
Yeah. I love, like you said, at the end of a pizza, I love to do something at the very end, right before it's served, like just chopping up some green onions and putting some green onions on top, salt and pepper on the freshly grated black pepper on those. It's just endless what you can do. But that's the picture. If you could see that.
Yeah, go back a little bit.
I don't know if you can get a good view of it.
It's hard to see that. But what is that? What I can't see anything.
So we did, like you said, with the thin steak. We actually use the same ones that we're doing, like a Philly cheesesteak pizza, and you got the thin sliced meat. So we're putting that on with provolone instead of mozz, because the drier cheese is better because it's got to stay in the oven a long time. So provolone, the sliced steak, crack an egg right over the top. You hit it with a dry cheese and you bake it kind of grandma style. You have all these places, and I think you were talking about before how those guys do. You're calling it tavern pizza. They call it, on the East Coast, call it bar pizza. So same style, different names. So you can, if you do, these ones are in a pan, and I was doing big giant pizzas, breakfast pizzas, cutting them in 8 slices and trying to sell slices like that. Now I'm going to try to do personal pizzas for everybody like that, just making them in a little pan. And then you're doing them kind of grandma style where the dough is raw. Everything's raw. You put it in, everything cooks together and kind of melts and blends. So the steak is raw and all those juices are going to go in the dough that's raw. It's going to cook together. And so you get those blends of flavor, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, we already have all the necessary ingredients to make a great breakfast pizza. You want bacon, you want green peppers, you want onions, you want ham, you want a little garlic, eggs, salt, pepper, I mean, anything you could possibly want. And so it's kind of funny. I find it pretty interesting how nobody's really capitalized on that. You don't find pizzerias that are breakfast places, but I think it's a good idea. I think that there's a market for it. I mean, you'd be creating a whole new area of income like you're doing right now. And I just don't see a lot of people doing it. So you wouldn't have much competition. Nobody does that.
Yeah. We did a menu for somebody in Phoenix. He was opening a 24-hour club. And the menu was everything. It was breakfast, lunch, dinner, and brunch.
24-hour club?
24-hour club right in the heart of Phoenix. And he hasn't opened yet because this was pre-COVID, and I guess he got delayed with a couple of things. But so we did breakfast there, and what we used for his breakfast was I don't know if you heard of piadina. A piadina is like an Italian flatbread. It's so easy to do and delicious. You just basically, it's just taking dough and frying it on both sides in a pan with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And you just put the salt and the pepper right in the pan with the olive oil, get it hot, cook literally 30 seconds on each side, done. Very thin dough.
That's how they cook pita. That's how they cook pita and like naan, the Indian naan, right? Isn't that how it's very similar to that, but you're using pizza dough.
Exactly. Yeah, very similar. And basically, you serve that with a side. We had it on a plate with a side, an egg. It's real good with yolk and maybe a protein, especially prosciutto. And so that was they really love that menu. But you could go so many different places with that. So we were going to try to do breakfast sandwiches. I don't know if you've been in New York. Have you been in New York in the city?
I have, but I was younger, so no, not really. Not truly.
Anywhere you go in New York City, you can get a breakfast sandwich in the morning, right? It could be a deli, a gas station, anywhere you could get a breakfast sandwich, a beautiful big sandwich with egg and cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese. And so I miss that. You just can't get that here. You can't get a really quality breakfast sandwich. So that's what I wanted to do at Sabatino's for breakfast also, using the piadina as the bread and just have those, those runny egg and bacon and cheese in there. And it's, oh my goodness, I miss that. So
do you go back to New York often at all?
No, everybody's gone, so there's not too much reason. I think I've been back once since I left. That was just to show my wife like where I grew up and everything. But yeah, everybody's gone. My family's all scattered around. My friends are out of there. So I don't really have the people to see. It's just to see the city. I do miss the city terribly. I just love the camaraderie of New York City. Everybody is kind of, I know it seems like a place where people going, oh, everybody's so rude. And that's true if you're an outsider, right? But if you are there and your neighborhood is a very close, very family, like your neighborhood's like a family. So, if you grow up there, it's a lot different than if you just kind of visiting.
Yeah. I'm done with big cities. I have restaurants in the city of Chicago, and crackheads and rats and parking tickets and a bunch of animals everywhere. And you got a lot of nice people too, but they ruins it. And then now COVID hit, and people are just fleeing the city like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So well, Sabatino, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed. I've learned some things from you, and I think that our listeners are going to gain some knowledge from your experience. The Pizza Consultants, there's an S at the end.com, very important. Sabatino Consulting, Sabatino's New York style pizzerias. And if I ever do come out to Charleston, South Carolina, I will come visit you for sure. And if you come to Chicago, hit me up. We'll have some deep.
Awesome. That would be awesome to meet in person. Yeah, awesome. I will definitely do that.
All
definitely.
Right, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Have a great day, man.
Thanks for listening to the Always Direct podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.